Hello everyone, welcome back to either the Achieve Oxfordshire Facebook page if you're watching us there, or the Achieve Oxfordshire podcast if you are listening to us. I am Victoria, it's nice to see you. I am pre-recording this one, so I'm not sure when you're listening to it, but I hope you're having a good day and a week, whenever that may be. I'm back today to talk about our social media experiment and kind of what we learned from it and how we can use those learnings to make social media work for us, and especially during a pandemic, because there's a lot with that going on right now. So to give you some background, I am a practitioner at Achieve, and if you have been on the course, you will know that one of our goals or our key messages is to try and reduce screen time, which is really tough to do, especially at the moment when we're virtual and working from home and in lockdown. Everything is online. So first, let me say, let's be realistic about our screen time at the moment. We'll do the best we can. We can have some active screen time added in, but ultimately it is hard to reduce our screen time at the moment. But we still can, and there might still be some benefits from it. So myself and my colleague Ellie, who you might remember from, she did Facebook Lives a little bit while ago. Is that a sentence? She used to do our Facebook Lives with us as well when she was a practitioner too. She is still with us, just working behind the scenes. And we just got chatting one day, and we were kind of saying we spend a lot of time on our phone. We're asking clients to reduce their screen time. It's important that we are doing the same and trying to reduce ours. And we just thought it'd be an interesting experiment because, we've had social media for most of our lives. We're very used to it. We grew up on it. So we almost didn't know any different. But even if you didn't grow up with it, it's everywhere now. Everyone's got some form of social media. So we thought we'll give it up for a month, just to see how it goes. Now, we did this quite a while ago. I think we did a blog post on it at the time, but we also wanted to talk about it now because we've been having lots more discussions about how we're feeling about social media with the lockdown, with the pandemic, and things like that. So that is your background. Let's get into what we actually learned and what we found. So the first thing was realizing how long we actually spent on it and what a habit it is. So since then, we've both got those notifications on our phone where it tells you every week how much screen time you spent, average a day. And one of my lovely friends pointed out that is actually only my phone screen time. You always have to consider your if you're looking at a laptop or a TV, things like that, it all adds up. But what we also noticed, especially at the start, is how often, without thinking, we would just go to pick up our phones and we would forget that we'd said that we'll give up social media, and we deleted all our apps so they weren't there to go on. But we kept picking our phone up out of habit. And it got to the point it was almost a little bit embarrassing because our colleagues would see us pick our phones up and be like, oh, never mind. So yeah, how much time we spent on it was shocking and revealing. So that is something that's been very interesting for us. I should say we are back on social media now. We did only do it for a month, but we definitely changed our habits because of it. And one of the things we did was set some time limits on those apps, so that we could be more intentional, because we'd noticed that it was just a habit. We weren't going on there to find entertainment or to look up anything in particular. It was a habit. We didn't have anything else to do, or so we thought. So that was the first thing, and that was a big shock to us. So what else did we learn? We had to learn to kind of adapt to the way that we connect with our friends and our family. Like I said, for us and a lot of our friends, we've grown up with social media, so we tend to share quite a lot on there, or that's the way we communicate. So instead of texting, we might message on Instagram, message on Facebook, whatever it is. And because we deleted those apps, we were missing things. So we had to make a much more conscious effort to reach out to our friends via a phone call. At that point, when we'd given it up, we could still, I think this was just before we were going into lockdown, so we were still able to see people. So we made more effort to meet up with people. But we had to be, again, much more intentional about what we were doing. And we will say this is one of the things that we actually missed with social media. We missed seeing little clips and little things that our friends had shared that you might not necessarily mention if you're having a phone call just to catch up. So that is one thing that we did miss, and one thing that we looked forward to seeing again when we did go back onto social media after. But saying that, a positive was that we found that we were more present in current situations. So I know my colleague Ellie specifically said she noticed that if she was in a situation where normally she would, take a picture to send to her friend or upload to Instagram, whatever it might be, instead of doing that, she was actually more present and just enjoying the situation or enjoying whatever it was in the moment, which was really nice. We were also more productive. If our manager is watching this, like we said, we had spent a lot of time on our phone, not necessarily long periods of time at once, but like I said, we picked our phone up regularly just to have a quick scroll. When we took that away, we actually naturally had more time to do what we needed to do. So we were more productive at work and things like that. We also, like I said, because it was a habit, we would spend a lot of time doing that. We'd say sometimes we'd go home from work and we'd just sit in the evenings and scroll on our phone. And we wanted to be using our evenings for more than that. So not only did it mean being more intentional with seeing and speaking to our friends, but it also meant we didn't have that distraction of social media anymore. So we used things, we had a big reading list that we wanted to get through. So we started on that. And it was just nice to do something different that wasn't scrolling on our phones. So we were definitely more present and more productive. And again, I think the way that we use social media now, after doing that experiment, means that we are still more present and more productive, but we have made social media work for us, which we're going to talk about later as well. Another one, we found that we slept better, not necessarily through the night, but kind of getting to sleep. We've all heard that recommendation that, ideally you're not on your phone kind of half an hour before bed. We had definitely been, scrolling on social media when we'd got into bed. That was taken away. So not only did we then, we weren't looking at that blue light during that time, but like I said, we were also doing different things instead of social media. So reading, for example, and we found that that was a great relaxation technique, and it meant that we got to sleep easier and had a better night's sleep overall. That was a nice benefit. And then a big one was the effect on our mental health. So I will say that we didn't necessarily think that it had a massive negative impact on us when we were using social media before we did this experiment. When we gave it up, we realised that actually we noticed that we started to feel a bit more clear-headed, potentially a little bit less anxious occasionally, depending on what else is going on in our lives. And it was almost that kind of thing that you don't realise until you're not doing it anymore. So that was a really big one, and we did feel a lot better in ourselves. I will say with this one, I think it depends who you follow and what you're looking at. And again, we're going to come to that later in how we can make social media work for us. But that was really interesting to us. And when we were off social media, we were thinking about which accounts or what type of content were we missing. And then when we went back onto social media, we did a real cleanse and we got rid of anyone that we hadn't thought about, which sounds a bit mean, but anyone, any type of content that we hadn't really missed, we weren't that interested in. It was just happened to be there, so we got rid of that. And we got rid of any accounts that didn't make us feel good. Instagram especially, it's very visual, and it can be very easy to kind of slip into following people that don't make you feel good. So we got rid of them. Even people we knew. It wasn't a personal thing. It wasn't that they'd done anything wrong. It was just that with what was going on for us at that time, the things they were posting weren't making us feel good. So we just decided to unfollow them for the time being. And that made a real difference. So that's what we learned from it. Now I'm going to talk about kind of making social media work for you in a pandemic, but this can relate to any time really. So following on from the mental health thing, like I've just said, make social media work for you. We curate our own social media feeds. So if there is someone that doesn't make you feel good, unfollow them. You can even hide their post if you don't want them to see that you've unfollowed them. Doesn't mean that it's anything personal, but social media is only a snapshot and people are only posting what they want you to see. And if that is making their life, look amazing, and right now you're not feeling like that and it's making you feel worse, unfollow them for a bit. Absolutely fine. Um, and then if you've unfollowed all the people that make you feel bad or accounts that make you feel rubbish, add in some accounts that make you feel good. There's lots of lovely accounts where they just post cute pics of animals. I recommend, but making sure that the content you're looking at is interesting and helpful to you. That's really important because a lot of it we just follow them once and we forget about it, but we see their content time and time again. So making it work for you. Again, this is for the pandemic, but I would argue potentially for the whole time. Turn off the news. If you get those notifications from like BBC News, Sky News that come up on your phone, turn them off if they're not making you feel good. The news is a little bit depressing right now, and sometimes all the time. We know it's important to be switched on and know what's going on in the world. We're not saying that, but we don't need to be logged into it 24/7. It's okay to be more intentional about it. When you're feeling in a space where you can check the news and read what's going on, be intentional about it rather than having it constantly come up when you are trying to use social media, or if you're trying to use social media to switch off and to relax, which you absolutely can. Then switch off the news, unfollow the news, and be more intentional about what you're looking at and when you're looking at it. And then the final thing would be to set those time limits, especially in the pandemic when a lot of our routines have been upturned and we don't really have much of a routine if you're like me. It can become very easy to just sit and scroll and scroll and scroll. And like we said, some of the stuff that we're seeing isn't going to make us feel good depending on the kinds of feed that we have. So setting that limit can be really helpful. You might want to give up social media for a month yourself. That's fine, have an experiment. But equally, we do recognise the benefits of social media. Like we said, especially right now, it helps us feel connected. It might be a little bit of escapism. We might have accounts that we find really entertaining. That's brilliant. So use social media in a way that works for you. If you find that you think you're spending more time than is helpful for you, set those app limits. I think most smartphones now have settings where you can do that. So those are our tips, and that's what we learned from our month of giving up social media. Like I said, we are back on social media, but we use it in a very different way. And I think that's the thing to take away from this, that it is personal to you. And what works for me will be different to what works for you. And it's about finding out what that is. So that is it. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you've thought about giving up social media, if you think it has a positive or a negative impact on you, anything like that. We're really nosy. We want to know everything that you feel and think about this topic. Again, hopefully this will help you maybe reduce your screen time a little bit, or make your screen time maybe a little bit more intentional. Either way, I hope something in there was helpful or interesting. Like I say, I don't know when you'll be watching or listening to this, but I hope you're having a good day and a good week. And we will see you soon with some more content. So take care. Goodbye.